Experts say light rail is the way to go for Toronto, but Rob Ford isn't happy.
And an A-list Hollywood star gets cuffed. Humber News starts now.
Hello, it's Friday, March 16th. Welcome to Humber News, coming to you from the Broadcast Center here at the North Campus. I'm Dylan McKenzie. Thanks for joining us.
And I'm Kate Foster. Ahead on our show, we have all your news, sports, and entertainment highlights, as well as your 5-day weather forecast. But first, Dylan has our top story.
An expert advisory panel is recommending Toronto choose light rail transit over a new subway line. Toronto City Council established the panel last month when it rejected Mayor Rob Ford's call for a subway in Scarborough. Panel members include representatives of the Provincial Metrolinx Agency, the TTC, and former Mayor David Crombie. The recommendations will go before City Council on March 21st. Ford promised he would build the Shepherd's subway in his 2010 campaign. He called the panel biased, saying he is listening to the wishes of the taxpayers.
Spring has sprung at the Humber Arboretum, and while maple syrup season is winding down, there are still plenty of trees to be tapped. Humber News reporter Thomas Surska has the story.
Sweet, sweet maple syrup. It's a sugary favorite Canada is famous for, but do we really know how it gets from the tree to the bucket? How does it go from sap to syrup? Sandy McCalden is a third-year Justice Studies student at the University of Guelph-Humber who volunteers at the ARB. He says it's a multi-step process.
We've collected maple sap from the trees in the ARB, and now we're boiling it off to boil the water that's in the sap down to get dark maple syrup.
McCalden has helped his grandparents produce maple syrup since he can remember. He says the mild winter has accelerated everything. Even with the mild temperatures, McCalden says there is still a couple of weeks to go in the maple syrup season.
We're catching the tail end of the season. Typically, big productions would have been started in January, starting to make maple syrup.
Arboretum staff have tapped 8 maple trees for syrup this year and began collecting 2 weeks ago. McCalden says there will be more than 150 liters of sap collected by the end of March. With a 40-to-1 sap to syrup ratio, that means about 4 liters of maple syrup when it's all said and done. It's not too late to tap into the maple syrup fun here at Humber. The Arboretum will be hosting a special event called Maple Syrup Harvesting on Saturday, March 24th at 10 a.m. For more information, visit the Arboretum website. Thomas Surska, Humber News.
Thanks, Thomas. Police are investigating the death of a man who was pulled from Lake Ontario earlier today. At about 4 o'clock this morning, police pulled the 21-year-old from the water at the base of Bay Street. He was unconscious and without vital signs and was rushed to hospital where he was pronounced dead. Police say he was riding a bike with a friend when he wound up in the water. Investigators are on the scene trying to determine if foul play was involved.
The jury has been excused once again in the Michael Rafferty trial. The Crown says there are legal issues to discuss, which also kept the trial on hold yesterday. Rafferty has pled not guilty to first-degree murder, sexual assault causing bodily harm, and kidnapping in the case of 8-year-old Tori Stafford. His former girlfriend took the stand briefly this morning after reviewing a statement she made to police in 2009. McClintock says she stands by testimony she gave earlier this week that delivered the fatal blows to Stafford. McClintock pled guilty to murder in 2010.
A funeral date has been set for Miriam McNish, the missing teen whose body was identified last week. The funeral will be held on March 24th at 1 p.m. at Murray Newbigging Funeral Home in Toronto. 17-year-old McNish went missing over 2 years ago outside her high school. Her body was found under a Highway 401 overpass. Police say the cause of death was from a fall, significant height, and they don't suspect foul play. A lawyer for the family says Miriam's father, Baktang McNish, will likely be in attendance. He is currently serving a 6-year term in prison after pleading guilty to 3 counts of aggravated assault in an unrelated incident.
Landslides are causing some homes to be evacuated in an area west of Collingwood. 2 homes are reported to be in the direct path of the landslide, but up to a dozen homes could be affected. The landslide began next to the Alpine Private Ski Club yesterday, causing evacuation and road closures. Both gas and hydro services have been shut off in the area. Police are on the scene and no injuries have been reported.
When we come back, we'll have more news from across the country and around the world. Justin Irwin will have the sports news and we'll have your weather forecast with Philip Maciel.
For those of you prepping for St. Patrick's Day tomorrow, you might be eagerly anticipating the forecast. Well, I've got that coming up for you, as well as your 5-day weather forecast right after the break.